Hey y'all, this is Driver. So we are back on ATS. We are currently over at, we're still in Kennewick. I picked us up a bulldozer here going out to Bellingham, Washington. So, which this is going to be a new delivery location for us. I've never been to that city on game. Don't know if I've ever been there in real life either. Can't really remember. But we're going to be continuing with what we were talking about earlier about me getting into trucking and stuff like that. So currently I have the game audio muted for you guys because it is quite noisy here where we're at. So once we pop back into the cab, then what I'm going to do now, I'm going to give you guys some game audio again. And it's not as bad in here in the truck, but I figured I would save you guys some of the noise. So let's work on getting out of here. I think we're going to need to go up past that Jersey wall. If you don't know what I'm talking about, it's that concrete barrier to our right. Truck drivers call them a Jersey wall, so there's a little trucker slang for you guys. There's a fair amount of trucker slang, everything from different cities to just different vehicles, things like that. So we might touch into some of that over time. You actually probably heard me say some of it too. So in our last video, we talked about me actually getting my CDL, and it took me a little bit, but I got it. And after I got my commercial license, I was struggling trying to find a job that would take me. A lot of trucking companies want you to have certain amount of experience. I didn't go through a trucking school, so nobody was interested in me because of that. I also didn't have very much trucking experience, at least with a proper license, because I just obtained mine. So it was just a whole lot of this and that just was making it hard for me to get a job. And the company that I worked for, the one that I had quit, they kept bugging me and wanted me to come back. As much as I didn't like the company, I ended up going back just because I needed to get some kind of experience in. So I went back to work for them, but I was working more of a daytime schedule as a driver instead of as a dock worker. And I worked for them, I don't even think it was 6 months. It might not even been 3 months. Now, the neat thing about with what I was doing what they called local cartage. And so, where the office was located was out of the DFW airport, which is the international airport in Dallas Fort Worth. So you're kind of in between the two cities there. My runs kind of varied depending upon what they wanted me to do. Some days I was running over to Fort Worth, and I would make deliveries and pickups all over Fort Worth. Some days I was in Dallas doing the exact same thing, and usually you ended your day doing stuff on the airport or at the DFW airport for them. So the cool thing was that I don't know if I'd really call it a community, um, but we were like a little family in a way. We all kind of knew each other. People had remembered me from before when I was driving the box trucks, and I knew a handful of people, some by name, some I didn't. A lot of us we chatted when we were standing on these docks. One place that I went to pretty regular was Forward Air, and Forward Air was notorious about they always had a long line getting to the dock. Then you finally got in the dock and you ran over to the little dispatch window and you gave them all their paperwork, and then they gave you all the stickers to put on the boxes or crates or whatever you're bringing in. And then while you did that, you're waiting for a forklift guy to come over and unload your truck. And then once you got unloaded, then you jumped in your truck. I think that guy gave you a signature after he did his little counts and stuff, and then you were on your way. And then you were hurrying up and trying to get out of the dock door so the next guy could get in, and that way you could run over to the next place. Let's get our cruise on. So yeah, it was high paced. You had to be quick. The companies couldn't legally tell you to speed because that's obviously breaking the law, and you could really get their butts in trouble. But they wanted you to be as speedy as possible. Um, if you remember, I was talking about that I quit working for them because of some arguments that we'd had. One of the arguments that we'd had was I was in a van that day, this one particular day, I mean, and I got stuck in some traffic in Dallas out on the interstate. and I didn't know the side roads and everything that well. And we had these little two-way radios, and I don't know if you guys remember back years ago. So this is in 2003 or four. I think it was 2003 at the time. Um, Sprint and Nextel were kind of sister companies in a sense, and Nextel had the cell phones that also had the two-way radios built into them, which was kind of cool. And our company had those, so everybody was carrying one that was company provided. Only while you're at work. When you got done, then you turned it back in. Um, so we all had these little company provided two ways, and so I hit dispatch on the two way and said, "Hey man," I said, so I'm stuck in some really bad traffic. I'm gonna be delayed a little bit." That guy cussed me out, my dispatcher, and said, "No, no, no, you can't be stuck in traffic. You need to find your other way around it." I mean, this guy was very vulgar with me, and I just didn't appreciate it. I didn't. I look at things from a business aspect, and that wasn't very professional, in my opinion. And I actually said some choice words to him as well, because I mean, you get rude with me, I'm gonna get rude back with you. I'm just kind of an a-hole like that sometimes. And the next day when I came in for my next shift, because that guy had left by the time I got back, when I came in the next day, I was sent straight to the CEO office, and I got written up for it. And that was actually when I quit. We'd had multiple choice words before that, so it wasn't the first round with that, but it's kind of what it was. So anyhow, let's get back where we were. So now I'm working for these guys for about 3 to 6 months, and one of the guys that I knew, I'd seen him around quite a bit. These guys looked pretty professional. We didn't have the company I was working for. I think we might have had a T-shirt, then we're all them blue jeans and boots and stuff like that. This other company that this other guy I knew, they had the uniform system. I mean, the full uniform system, from Armax or whatever all them uniform companies are. I can't remember all of them. But so they looked professional. And me and this one guy was talking. It's like 10:30 at night, and I think we were at Forward Air, and he's like, "Hey man," he goes, "Are you still looking for a truck driving job?" I said, "Yeah." He's like, "Man," he goes, "We're looking for somebody over the road." I said, "Well, I don't have over the road experience." I said, "Is that going to be an issue?" And he said, "Well, I don't think so." And I said, "All right." I said, "You know what the pay is?" He goes, "Well, no, I don't." He goes, "It's over the road position, so it's not local." He goes, "I don't know if that's anything you're interested in." And at the time I was like, "Ooh, over the road. Heck yeah, I'd go see the world to get paid." I'm like, "Yeah, sure." I said, "Do I need to go do an application or whatever?" And he goes, "Yeah." He goes, "Will you be able to go over to the office tomorrow?" And I said, "Yeah, I could probably pop in there before work." He said, "All right." So long story short, I was to be over at their office at around between 8 and 9 o'clock in the morning, which was right before my job shift. And I was to go in there and see a guy named Big Al. And I'm like, "All right, that's cool." So I show up over there, and I walk in this office, and they got several desks, and people look nice in there. Not quite business attire, but they're clean. Not mangy looking or something crazy. They all look professional in this office. And the first person that sees me, they're like, "What can I do for you?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I was told to come up here and speak to Big Al." And they're like, "Oh yeah, he's back this way." Well, and not trying to pick on the guy, but he was a colored guy, and he was big. He was really big, but very nice, really cool dude. And I come in there, and he's like, "Oh yeah," and honestly, I can't remember the name of the other guy, but they had already spoke anyway on the phone about me coming in and talking. So he already knew I was coming in, and so we chatted for a little bit, and he said, "Well," he said, "I hear that you can probably drive." He goes, "That's the main thing we're looking at. We got guys that just can't drive." I'm like, "All right." I said, "Well, what do you want me to do?" He said, "I want you to do a driving test, and I want you to go with this guy," which was the same guy I talked to the night before. I'm like, "Okay, I can do that." So all they had me do was jump into a semi truck with a sleeper on it, hook up to a trailer, do one lap around their building, and park the trailer into a dock door. And I parked the trailer in one shot. Didn't have to pull up and straighten up or anything like that, which is kind of rare. But I was used to the docking system in that area, so I kind of knew what I was doing. And I parked it. I got out and I looked to see, because that's what I always did. After I backed up, I always looked to make sure I was square enough to the door that a forklift could get in and out and all that stuff. And Big Al is standing on the dock, and I look up at him. I said, "Well, does that work for you?" And he goes, "You're hired." He goes, "I need you to teach people how to back a trailer for a start." I'm like, "Hey, if you're paying, I'm willing to teach." So I was instantly hired. I told him, I said, let me give this company a 1 week notice. I would normally give 2 weeks, but they had already been hasty to me in the past. But I was still going to at least put some kind of a notice in to, I didn't want to make myself look too bad. So I went to go drive for these guys, and it was fully over the road. So what I was making as a CDL driver locally, and this is in 2003, or right about the beginning of 2004. It was right around that spot, right there was when I finally got that job. I went from making, I think I was making either $8 or $10 an hour driving locally in a semi truck around town, and I went from that to making 34 cents a mile over the road. So, um, 34 cents a mile might not sound like a whole lot, but when you can drive at average, say 65 mile an hour, it does add up. Um, and the way that I learned how to run the road and everything, I was able to, on weekly, I was able to do about 1,000 a week. And in 2004, I thought that was pretty sweet money. Um, so I go to start with this company, and I asked them, the truck that I would be getting, would it be mine all the time? They said, yes, it would be the truck you would drive every time you leave. So, and the way they did things, which was kind of cool, was they would have a load for you. They would call you up and say, hey, we got a load going to so and so. You think you can take it? And you tell them yay or nay. Usually you should be able to. And then you find out what time you need to come in to pick the load up and take off out of town. And you would go deliver that load, usually either before you even left or sometimes while you were en route to deliver. They would already have a load for you to pick up to bring back to the Dallas area, Dallas or Fort Worth, and you would deliver that load when you got back, and then you'd go home. Sometimes you'd be at home for a day or so, and they'd have another load for you, and you'd take off and you'd do it all over again. So I actually enjoyed that because you went out and you came straight back. It was kind of nice. Um, so my very first run with these guys, not knowing their system, they told me, they said, well, you're going to run with this one guy. I'm like, all right. And they already told this guy I'm going to run with him, and he was not happy about it. The reason he wasn't happy about it is because he knew I was a new driver. He thought he was going to have to teach me. And they told him, said, no, this guy knows how to drive. He knows how to back up the doors. He already knows how to do a logbook and all this stuff. So all y'all got to do is just run together, just kind of show them like the road ropes, as far as like, where to go, good places to park, things like that. So our first run, we took 2 trucks, 2 trailers out to New York City, and we're talking Manhattan, New York City. I don't even remember exactly where at out there. I do know it was like a country club, kind of like a golf resort type place. And we cruised out there, and it took 2.5 days to get out there. So it was about 2.5 days of driving out there. It took about almost a day to get completely unloaded. We got out of there around, we actually slept there in their parking lot. They woke us up around 6, 7 o'clock in the morning, started unloading us. The other guy got unloaded before me. He went to Connecticut to get his next load. I went back toward Pennsylvania for mine, and the place that I picked my load up at, actually, it kind of worked out because they were able to unload me or load me back up in the same day, and I was able to go ahead and start heading back to Dallas. From that point forward, that guy, he just took off and left me. I'm sure he was running illegal. I learned a little later on how to run illegal if I wanted to. He cruised on back toward Texas, and so did I, but only time we ever saw each other was here and there at the yard. Other than that, we hardly ever saw each other. So, sorry about that. I had to get a drink on the straightaway here. Yeah, after that, I was kind of on my own. I didn't know all the great places to eat at and park at. I didn't know all them places. What lane do I need to be in here? This lane. Got to kind of pay attention. We're going toward BC. So yeah, I didn't know anything at that point. I was basically just kind of thrown to the wolves in a sense. I mean, this guy, he kind of showed me a little bit. He's like, oh, well, these are the major big truck stops. They're going to be your better places for fuel and things like that. But you may want to, broaden your horizons for better parking because these places fill up early. Um, a lot of the truck stops, sadly, just have junk for food. Um, it's kind of sad. We get Most of our truck stops have fast food, and that just kind of bites. And I know that was part of some of the questions that AK had with for me, Aiden. So that's going to get broadened on a little bit more later on. So yeah. So for the next year, while I worked for this company, I change things here. Sorry. So I ran from Dallas, Texas to New York City almost every single week. It was at least 3 weeks out of the month that I did that, and I didn't mind it at first. I kind of learned my route and which way I wanted to go, how I wanted to do everything, where I wanted to park. Within 6 months, I had my route like down pat. So every so often they'd throw me a loop. They sent me out to California one time, and on my way to California, I got tickets because they had changed trucks on me. They took me out of the truck that I was in. Say, hey, we had a guy quit, and the truck he was in was better than what you're in, so we're giving you that truck. I'm like, all right, that's cool, I'll take it. Well, they give me this truck, and I look through the paperwork. So in your truck, you have a what they call a document folder, or a permit folder. And in that permit folder has like the truck registration or insurance, all your stuff that you need to be compliant with truck driving, to be on the road. So I looked through it and everything looked good. I didn't question nothing. Everything looked fine. Well, I get over to Arizona, and Arizona, well, New Mexico has well, they did. I think they did away with this. They had this little cab card. So it's about the size of like an index card, and that was all printed out, and it had everything on there, and it had a effective date, expiration date, company info, and stuff like that on it. And you would just you would have to go into the scale. You didn't get a choice. You had to go in the weigh station. You would pull in there. They would um, they would ask for that card. Knowing that you're going there, you would already have it out and ready to go. You show them the card, and as long as everything's fine on it, which the only thing they usually look at is the expiration date. If the expiration date was good, whoa, stupid four wheeler. Um, but if the expiration date was still good and all that stuff, they would say, okay, you can go, and you would take off. Now, mind you, when you're doing that part, you're sitting on the scale. You're being weighed at the same time, so they're already checking that. Then you go off over and you cruise across New Mexico, and you end up out in Arizona. Arizona is a little bit different. Instead of seeing a cab card, they look at your registration. So, registration in a semi truck, and I think I've talked about this before, um, you buy every state you're going to drive in. It's not one registration for all, so to speak. I mean, it is, but it isn't. That really makes any sense. So, they just double check that Arizona's on there. Well, I didn't know that, so I'm trying to find it, and they just told me to park the truck and come inside and bring it in because I'm holding up the line, which is understandable. So I go out and I park my truck, and I go in. Oh, you're turning. Park my truck. I go in with my permit book, and this is when I learned something about how trucking should be. My permit book was a complete mess. Whoever had been controlling that permit book, which was probably Ryder, because that's who we had our trucks through, all my paperwork was folded and mangled and just looked like garbage. And they were disgusted by that. We finally find my registration thing. They said, okay, this is what you need every time you come in here. So always have this handy when you're coming, through the scale house if you can. Stop at the register before you get here or whatever you need to do. Well, then they're looking at it and they said, oh, they actually started running things through the computer and realized that the registration that I handed them was canceled. And I'm like, well, Okay. I said, but how was I supposed to know that? That registration there doesn't show that it's expired yet. And they said, well, it shows that it's canceled. So we go back and forth. Eventually, they have me go out and write down the license plate number on my truck. And I write down the license plate number and I bring that in and they run that. So what had happened is the company that we leased our trucks through, which was Ryder, they had canceled the old plates on that truck and put brand new plates on it with new registration card and everything. But they didn't give me the registration paper. I didn't have that. So, but because I provided them with a registration card that was canceled, I received a ticket for it. And it was $200. And I was furious. I mean, I knew they were doing their job, so I let them be on it, and they were really nice about it. They weren't real rude, but I still received a ticket. Ended up being over $200. Here I am, my first year trucking, and I was furious about it. And they made me buy a one-way permit through the state and all this stuff, which that permit was another $20. Now, the nice thing was is that I got reimbursed all that. As far as on the money side of it, the Ryder paid for the ticket. They reimbursed me for the permit, and I actually stopped at a Ryder location while I was in Arizona and picked up the correct registration paper and put that in the truck with me to carry. So unfortunately, it was a copy, but because due to the situation, I was allowed to take the copy for the time being. But as soon as I got back to Texas, I had to get the original from the other Ryder office. Pain in the butt. So I go and I do all that, and we're in the 30 zone. That's why. So I go and I do all that, and I go all the way out to California. I deliver my load. I picked up a load coming back out of California. At this point, now I'm sweating bullets, thinking I'm going to run into the same crap that I ran into going through Arizona the first time. Oh, you're turning. Oh, I got to turn too. Well, that's a gate. Oh, I think I wasn't barreling through here. So when I got back over into Arizona again, I showed them that new registration that I received, and they're like, "This is a copy." And I started to explain it to them. They told me to park. I'm like, "Oh my god, here we go again. I'm going to be really mad if they give me another ticket." So I go in there and I have a little chat with them. Told them, "Hey, I've already received a ticket once because I was on my way to California. Now I'm on my way to Texas. The only way that I could get at least a copy was to stop at another Ryder location, get the copy to continue about my business. That when I get back to Texas, that I would get the original. I had to go through all that again. So I lucked out. They did not write me a ticket, didn't make me buy a permit, and I just went about my business. And then I do more loads out to New York, and eventually I had to go to California again. And this was a couple months later. So then I go to California the second time, and I'm sweating bullets through New Mexico and Arizona with all their garbage. And finally, I make it to California. I'm thinking, oh, hell yeah, I'm doing good now. So I get over to California and I get to their way station, and the guy tells me to park my truck. And I'm like, oh, great. Now what did I do? So I park my truck and I'm on my way to go inside there. The guy comes outside and he's got a tape measure. And there's another rule in the trucking industry, and I'll have to maybe sit down and do a video on trucking rules and stuff, but it's called bridge law. And what it is, it's a measurement from the kingpin that hooks up in your fifth wheel to the center of the rear axle. Most states that is to be 41 feet. Some states that is 42 feet, and one state is California at 40. Now I knew about this. And I adjusted my axles appropriately so that they would do what they're supposed to do. And we're going slow here. Sorry, guys. Road rage is starting to come out. So I had all my stuff set up right. The guy comes out, he measures it, and I'm at 40 foot 1 inch. There's nothing I can do about it. If I slide it the opposite direction, I would be under the 40 foot. It's still the same ticket. And the cop knew that. He said that he knew that I couldn't fix it. I left there with a $200 ticket. I told the company that I worked for that the next time they send me to California, I would put the keys on the table and they could have the truck back. So, and I have not been to California since. In my opinion, California is about one of the worst states when it comes to truck drivers, how we're treated. Um, Connecticut and Rhode Island line up with them pretty well. New York and New Jersey, I actually used to think they were a bunch of pricks too, but I just got to realizing it's just the way that that's their normal attitude, if that makes sense. They just normally act like they're pissed. So, so yeah, I dealt with a lot of weird stuff like that. That was the only two tickets I received working for that. Actually, no, I take that back. There was a third one. I was talking about this in Maryland. I had received a ticket in Maryland for, because at one point I thought that every state had to be at 40 foot, and I didn't realize every state was different. And I don't remember if I had it set the 40 or 42 foot, but it was supposed to be at 41. And the officer in Maryland, he could pretty much tell that I was a new driver. You can always tell. And he said, all right. He said, well, this is one you technically did wrong. He goes, but I'm going to cut you a break. He wrote me a ticket for parking in the way station instead. For parking in the way station, it was for $25 a ticket. A lot of way stations do not allow overnight parking. So it was cheaper than the bridge law ticket that would have been over $200. So I thanked him for the $25 ticket and being understanding, and I went about my business. I honestly thought that, they could have just wrote me a warning, would have been nice. But so, and on the topic of tickets, we'll go ahead and throw this in there. Any truck driver that receives a ticket, it goes on their driving record as points, just like as a regular driver's license. The downside is us truck drivers typically cannot go through any kind of defensive driving school to remove them points. Them points stay there forever. Now, here's the flip side of that. Warnings in a commercial vehicle still add up to points on your license, and it makes your driving record look bad. So, anytime I talk about tickets and stuff like that, it's adding a bunch of points. So in 1 year's time, I had 3 different spots where it put points on my license. Not enough to hurt anything because it was very small on the point scale. But then we also have a system here called the DAC report. I think it's DAC report, not that DAC. Oh god, I'm gonna have to look all that up. Like I said, we'll have to do maybe a full sit down on this, and we won't be driving a truck doing it. So I can think. But yeah, there's I believe it's called the DAC system, and it's a reporting deal. It shows points on your license, places you've had tickets. But the other kick side of that is companies can actually put reports in there about you, whether they're true or not. And people are constantly having to fight those reports because companies they'll want you to do something that's outside your realm, that's something you shouldn't do. Maybe it's illegal, and you refuse to do it, and they'll put something else on your DAC report, and it makes you look bad, because, for example, if you don't have enough hours to run the load that you're supposed to run, and you say, hey, I can't run that load, I don't have the hours, well, they'll get all mad about it. And instead of they won't put on the DAC report that you wouldn't run it because you didn't have the hours. They just put down that you refused to run the load, period, that you just refused to work, and it makes you look bad. It's kind of like your resume in a way, but it's complicated, and it's just some of the stuff we go through. So anyhow, yeah, I mean, that was just some of the weird stuff that happened in my first year. After about a year working for them, I was still talking to my buddy that did the grain hauling stuff, and I really liked the idea of that. And he's like, well, hey man, he goes, if you want to come over here, he goes, I'll talk to my uncle and see if he wants a driver, and we'll come up with a number and stuff. So fast forward a little bit, he calls me up and says, hey man, he goes, my uncle wants to talk to you. Here's his phone number. Give him a call, and you two can talk. So I talked to him. I ended up landing a local job, so to speak. I wasn't local like staying inside the city, but I was local where I was coming home almost every night. Um, in a month's time, I might have stayed in the truck 2 nights. The rest of the time, I was home all at night. So I went to work for that guy. I made $12 an hour, plus I got overtime pay after 40 hours a week. And I made pretty decent money over there, and I actually liked it. But But at one point, I thought that I could make more money over the road, so I went back over the road, in which I actually went back to the first over the road company, the one where I got all the tickets. I worked for them for a little bit doing local work and then over the road, and we just couldn't see eye to eye no more. When I was doing local for them, they paid me more an hour, but I wasn't getting the hours. They pay me, I think they were paying me $14 to $15 an hour, but I was only getting 40 hours a week. Um, and then when I asked to go over the road, they wanted me to run illegal. And I told them I wouldn't run illegal, that, if I don't have the hours, I don't have the hours. And they got all mad about that. So I quit them, went back to working for my friend's uncle. And I really enjoyed working for him. And he would be, if I was still living in Texas, he would still be another option for a job. But I quit working for him because I wanted to move back home to Florida. So I quit working for him. I sold a bunch of my stuff. I bought a little travel trailer and I moved home to Florida. When I moved home to Florida, that turned into another fiasco. When I originally was looking into moving, and this is now 2007, I'd looked online, and internet was there, but it wasn't like it is now. But when I looked online, I was like, oh, there's all kind of trucking jobs in Florida. Cool, I'm set. So I didn't even apply for anything. I just moved all my stuff, and then I was going to put an application in. Well, by the time I got to Florida, I couldn't find a job. So for 2 months, I looked for a job. And at this point, you know how it is. If you're looking for a job and you can't find one, and then one comes across your table, no matter how crappy it is, you take it. So I ended up taking a job working for a company called Evergreen Transportation. And at Evergreen Transportation, I was hauling paper products and things like that for them. It was usually the big rolls of paper. It was always real heavy loads. Working for them wasn't too bad. Dispatch was pretty decent to deal with. I had just one dispatcher I didn't care much for. He supposedly was a truck driver, but then anytime you told him that you just didn't have the hours or something like that, he'd get all mad at you. So it was just kind of one of those things. But I mean, other than that, it wasn't too bad. Did I miss a turn or something, guys? Because somehow I'm. Don't tell me I missed a turn. Are we just driving aimlessly for no reason, guys? Hold on a second here. Let me look at the map. I'm gonna be so mad if I did that. Wait a minute. Oh yeah, we missed a turn, all right. Jeez, well, peace, guys. This is gonna be a long video. Okay, I apologize, but yeah. Yeah, it looks like I missed a left turn there, guys. Holy crap. Well, I've looked like an idiot now, don't I? All right, well, take a drink while I'm in the pause menu for a minute. Let's get turned around, I suppose. Man, I really do feel like an idiot. So yeah, anyhow, I just realized I was going the wrong way, and now my train of thought went to a handbasket will be nice today. So yeah, yeah, I worked for that company for a little while. The only reason I quit working for them was because they didn't take care of their equipment very well. Um, their trucks were okay, but they still didn't care. I went into every terminal had a shop, and I went into one of their shops one time, and I had a marker light out on the top of the trailer. So the trailers, like these boxers, see how this truck in front of me has got them 5 red lights across the top and the back. On the front, you have the amber ones on the corners and the very top, and one of them were out on a trailer. So I went in there and asked them to change it out, and they got all butthurt and mad about it and wouldn't change it. Um, FMCSA regulation requires that every light that is installed on a vehicle, especially commercial vehicles, are to be operational at all times. They should always work. And if you have a light out, a lot of times a cop may pull you over and tell you about it, but he's not going to write you up if it's just a light, you know. But it does increase the chance of being pulled over, because that's one thing that a cop is going to look for, is that, hey, this guy's got a light out. What else has he got going wrong? You know, it was kind of one of my whole things about, keeping your truck clean. A clean truck, kind of keep them away. So yeah, so I ended up quitting them, and I tried to go work for a couple different companies and ran into issues there, and it was due to health. Um, I found out while trying to get a job working for a couple of these companies that they, so I think I've spoke about this. You have to take a physical. Usually it's every 2 years. Well, a lot of companies, when you go to work for them, you go to orientation, they make you take a new physical. They want you to have a first physical when you start with them, no matter how new yours is. And so I went to take the physical, and I found out that I had a hernia. Well, because I had the hernia, they wouldn't hire me. So I ran into complications with that. And then I got a job working for Celadon, which I'm not proud of, but I did work for them for a time. And I worked for them for almost a year, and was finally able to get insurance and get the surgery taken care of. And I've spoke about this. They were the company that fired me while I was recovering from my surgery. So I was pretty mad about that, as you can imagine. And yeah, so I dealt with that. But and then I got the job working for, and so I think Aiden was also. Well, I'll talk more about things I've hauled, and probably a future video we'll do like a big blowout on that. So after Celadon and I got fired from them, I got a job working for a company called Worldwide Heavy Haul. They're still in business, the last I knew, but they're not really doing anything that I'm aware of. So I haven't talked to the owner of that company. I used to be pretty good friends with everybody there, but haven't really talked to nobody in a while over there. Haven't been able to get in touch with anybody. But I worked for them for a few years, and then I got into. So that was in 2009 when I started with him. 2010, I started working in the RV transport industry. I went back to work for him around 2011, and then 2012 I went back to RV transport. Um, RV transport. The first two times was with a company called Bennett. They're a really good company. They have RV industry. They have big truck industry. They have an oversized, not industries, divisions. Sorry, divisions. They do oversized, flatbed, power only. They do a lot of things. So I enjoyed working for them. But I had a friend that talked me into going and working for a Canadian company that was working in the area, doing RV transport, and that was Team RV. Um, I don't mean to be rude or hateful toward Canadians, but I don't think all Canadians are this way. At least I wouldn't think they are. But these people, they were extremely rude if you were an American. If you were Canadian, they loved you. Um, I was actually told multiple times that I wasn't allowed in their offices. I wasn't allowed in dispatch because I was American and I wasn't Canadian. They were some really, really rude people. So I don't mean to talk nasty about Canadians. It's just that group there, they were bad. That was the time that my buddy talked me into buying an 18-wheeler. So I bought my own 379 Pete, similar to this here, what I'm driving now. Um, I drove for him for about a year. I was doing the grain hauling thing again, and we were going a little bit different locations. I worked for him for a little over a year. Um, we just couldn't see eye to eye. We're still friends, but we just didn't see eye to eye with a lot of things. And so I left. I came back to Indiana. Was going to do RV transport with the big truck, but they They first said they were going to let me use the truck, and then once I put the pickup truck on, they didn't want the 18-wheeler. And I said, look, the 18-wheeler's got a payment it needs to make, so it needs to work. If you're not going to put it on, I'm going to go somewhere else. And that's what I ended up having to do. So for the next year with it, I hauled handicap minivans and such, and I really enjoyed that. It was a lot of fun and whatnot, but the pay just really wasn't that great. At that point was when I really started experiencing the burnout of being on the road all the time. And well, this guy's going stupid slow. Back over. So I just when I started feeling the burnout of being over the road, and I just didn't want to be over the road no more. So um, I got out of that truck and eventually sold it. And then I got back into RV transport doing local work until things got slow enough that there wasn't nothing to do with the company I was with, and that was Indiana Transport. One dump truck, let me pass you. I'll give you a lane. So, yeah, there was that. And the last guy that I worked for, which was Sage, and I actually loved working for that company. They were really good people to work for. It was a very small family knit company. The owner and his wife started the company. His wife did the accounting side of everything. She was our payroll and did various other things too. She kept all our paperwork in check and stuff like that. He more or less dispatched us, told us what to do, where to do it, how to do it. No, I'm kidding. He was actually a really nice guy. We used to give each other crap all the time. I still talk to him from time to time, which I need to call him again one day. I haven't talked to him in a while. And anyhow, um, I think at one given point there might have been 9 people total. And when I say 9 people total, that includes the boss's wife, the boss, me, and any other driver. So it's a very small company, and I loved working for them. I made great money working for them. I enjoyed it very well. It is a company that I would definitely go back to if they have an opening and if I needed a job. The reason that I left that company was because of um, not being able to get home. And I don't blame them one bit. It's not their fault, but they just couldn't get me home. But with I'd moved back home to Florida to be around my mom and help her more. Um, and when I took that good job with that guy, had a place to stay, but it wasn't like a permanent thing. It kind of turned permanent, but I just need to be home more. And that was the only reason I quit working for that guy. I made great money. I enjoyed the work. The only thing I didn't like was being over the road because I was just kind of burned out from it. But other than that, I loved working for that company. And if it came down to it, I'd go right back to them. Um, and the thing that I like about this company or that company was I used a toll transponder for doing my tolls when I worked for them. And the way it was set up was it had my truck plate number in there and it had the trailer plate that I used, which were what we call transporter plates. And transporter plates are used in the RV industry a fair amount and for power only stuff. Anyhow, when I quit working for him, I forgot to remove that trailer tag off of. Forgot to take it off my toll tag thing, and forgot about it for months. And then I got an invoice from it because I kept the toll tag because I was going to use it personally around here, and I get a statement from them showing tolls in Texas. I'm like, I ain't been to Texas. I'm in Florida. I'm at home. So I called them up and they said, yeah, your plate was scanned at these toll spots, the three you're seeing. I'm like, okay. So I called him up. I said, hey man, I said, one of your drivers has my plate, doesn't he? And they're like, yeah. I said, okay. Well, it's not none of my business. I said, but that driver did accrue some tolls. I said, but it's on the loaded side. And I'm sure you'd probably like to have those. And he said, oh yeah, I'd love to have them. This guy didn't have to, but he reimbursed me for those tolls. And I was reimbursed the next day. They, as soon as they found out, and I actually noticed it on a Sunday, but as soon as they found out about it, His wife got on the phone with me and got my direct deposit information back and had me send her the information, and she paid me, and I think I received the money in just a couple days. I mean, they're that good of a people. You know, they didn't have to do that. So, yeah. And now I'm currently unemployed. I moved, like I said, I moved back home permanent to be with my mom and spend time with her and help her with things. You know, she's getting up there in age, and you know, she just needs somebody around here to do stuff for her. So that's what I'm doing. Um, I was not planning on being unemployed for this long, though. I will be 100% honest with that. Let's not miss our turn here. This is our turn that we missed, and that was 100% my fault. Let's do a little better on that turn. Oh, we're going up a logging road, guys. Well, it looks like. What I'm going to do is I'm going to set our cruise. I don't want to get to going too fast on here because this will beat the crap out of our truck. We're going to do about 30. This is going to be a crazy road, and we're doing this in the dark. So yeah, that's kind of what I'm doing right now. Right now I'm still in the process of moving everything. We've had some things happen around here, and I'm not going to talk about that because that's more personal. Other than one of them, our septic system decided to take a crap here, and we had to redo it. So it kind of put us behind in a few things. But I'm hoping to get my stuff finished moved here in the next month or so. And then after that, I'm going to be looking for a job. I'm hoping for something local that will keep me home every night. And then that way I can still continue to do videos for you guys and stuff like that. Okay, this is going to get twisty quick. Wow. This is kind of cool. I wish we were seeing this in the daylight, guys. I wonder if there is a rest spot up here when we get there. If there is, I'm probably going to do a little rest thing so we can have daylight come out of this on the next video. Come on, truck. I don't know why this truck likes to start in fifth. What the heck is going on? Hold on, guys. Not really a rock there, but I think this trailer is getting hung up. There it goes. Back there. I was getting hung up there, guys. Sorry about that. But yeah, if there's a place for us to do a rest break, I don't normally do them, but I'd like to come out of here in the daylight. I think that'd be really cool. I'm driving fast again. I'm up aware of that. Sorry about that. Will say I'm definitely going to take a load out of here because this is going to be a long drive back to anywhere else. Set our cruise for 25 here. Might still be a little fast, but I know this video is getting to be a little long, guys, and I really apologize for that. That was my script for missing my turn. So yeah, that's pretty much been my trucking career. Aiden's got a whole bunch of stuff for me. I know I've just barely scratched the surface, and I plan to talk about some more stuff. And I'll be adding things to what he's been asking. Things that I see that goes hand in hand with it. Um, I may do just a regular video, not playing a game, not playing anything at all. Then try to showcase the kind of show you kind of like how the trucking rules and things like that work, guys. Stays right. We're only doing 25, and it feels like we're flying down this road. I'm gonna have to slow down again here. We got a couple of hairpins. This is a wild road, guys. I think the last time I was on a road like this was when I was playing ATS with some friends. A long time ago. Alright, so let's stay wide. Without running off the road. Apologize for the silence there, but I really had to pay attention to that. Holy. I'm trying to keep moving too because I'm afraid this trailer's gonna get hung up. Probably don't exactly have the best setup for off-roading like this between the truck and the trailer. Holy. That's fun though. Being nighttime and everything, this is starting to remind me of the times I was up in Drummond Island with some friends when off-roading one night with another guy, and we broke down. It was all, it's off-roading in the dark. So we are almost there, guys. And there's a video point here. We might have to do that on our way out too. This video is already getting long enough. Drive through the forest to timber harvest. Oh, we got an achievement for this. Over the top. All right. I'll take the easy way out this time. Where's my markers? Is it in front of us? Hold on. I can't even see where we're going, guys. Up there. Yep. Okay, so we were late by 8 minutes. Lost 4 XP and lost $79 out of that deal. And that's my fault. Partly because I was jibber jabbering, but I just didn't see the turn, I guess. I don't know. I think it was because I was following that one truck and I don't know. You know how it goes, guys. But anyhow, guys, this is going to be a long video. It's going to be almost an hour. So I'm going to go ahead and end this here. And we'll continue our discussions in the next video. So I'll catch you guys later. See you later.